A serious scandal involving the United States Central Intelligence Agency resulted in the disappearance of the longest-held U.S. civilian in U.S. history. Presumed to have been arrested by Iranian officials, the agent's whereabouts remain a mystery due to the lack of cooperation from both the United States and Iranian governments. Welcome to Without a Trace. I'm your host, Jalen. Every file holds a mystery. Every story deserves to be heard. This is Bob's story. Robert Levinson, also referred as Bob, was born on March 10, 1948 in Flushing, New York. He attended City College of New York, where he received his bachelor's in 1970. He went on to marry Christine, and together they share 7 children and 11 grandchildren. Bob is described as a lover of books, a role model, a family man, a friend to so many, and a hero to thousands. Bob started his career with the United States government in 1970 when he worked for the Drug Enforcement Administration for 6 years. From there, he worked as an FBI agent from 1976 until 1998. During his time with the FBI, he specialized in investigating organized crime in Russia. Following his retirement from the FBI, Bob would work as a private investigator until he disappeared in 2007. On March 8, 2007, Bob traveled to Kish Island, Iran, a tourist destination and a free trade zone, meaning Americans do not need a visa to enter. Kish Island is known to be a stronghold for international organized crime. What Bob hoped to gain from his visit to Kish Island remains unclear. Bob checked into his hotel, the Hotel Mariam, then met with an American fugitive, Dawad Salahuddin. Dawad was given refugee status in Iran after admitting that he had killed Ali Akbar Tabatabai in Maryland in 1980. Bob then disappeared on March 9th in Kish Island. Dawad is the last person to acknowledge seeing Bob on March 9th. Dawood was detained by Iranian officials in plain clothes and taken to be interrogated about his Iranian passport. When he was freed the next day, he was told by officials that Bob had returned to Dubai. Dawood's recount correlates with other statements, as friends of Bob say he feared he would be arrested after meeting with Dawood. On June 1, 2007, President George W. Bush released a statement on Bob's case, saying, quote, "I am disturbed by the Iranian regime's refusal so far to provide any information on Robert Levinson, despite repeated U.S. requests. I call on Iran's leaders to tell us what they know about his whereabouts." In August 2007, media began reporting that Bob's wife, Christine, and his oldest son, Dan, were planning a trip to Iran. The United States Department of State stressed that there was a travel warning to Iran, and Christine and Dan would be traveling at their own risk. On September 23, 2007, Iran announced that Christine and Dan would be allowed to visit the country, and in December 2007, Christine and Dan made the trip to Iran in an attempt to learn more about Bob's disappearance. They met with Iranian officials in Tehran and traveled to the hotel Bob stayed at. They viewed Bob's signature from the hotel checkout bill, showing he checked out from his hotel room on March 9th. Airport officials allowed Christine and Dan to view the flight manifests for all flights leaving Kish Island during the time Bob was due to leave, but his name did not appear on any of the lists provided. Despite all of the cooperation received from Iranian government officials, the family did not learn anything new about Bob's disappearance. Following this visit, Iranian officials promised to provide an investigative report to the family, but have yet to do so. In July 2008, in subsequent interviews, Christine and Dan expressed their interest in wanting to travel to Iran again soon. U.S. officials believed Bob was arrested by Iranian intelligence officials to be interrogated and used as a bargaining chip in negotiations. However, leads fizzled out and the Iranian government repeatedly denied any involvement in his disappearance. Speculation began to rise that Bob was dead. On January 13, 2009, U.S. Senator Bill Nelson revealed that he believed Bob was being held in a secret prison in Iran, saying, quote, "The door has been closed at every turn. We think he is being held by the government of Iran in a secret prison." On March 3, 2011, U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton said that evidence is growing that Bob is alive and is being held somewhere in Southeast Asia. On March 6, 2012, just days before the 5th anniversary of Bob's disappearance, the FBI offered a $1 million reward for information leading directly to the location, recovery, and return of Bob. In September 2012, Christine attempted to meet with Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad during the UN General Embassy in New York. He did not meet with her, but told CNN, quote, "They told me Bob was in Iran, and of course the question came up in my mind, what was an American intelligence officer doing in Iran? An individual is lost. How are we supposed to find him among 7 billion people spread out across the globe? What we can do is assist, help, and cooperate, which we have been doing, and we are doing, as a humanitarian gesture and action." On March 8, 2013, the Obama administration released a statement to mark the 6th anniversary of Bob's disappearance, saying, quote, "Finding him remains a high priority for the United States, and we will continue to do all that we can to bring him home safely to his friends and family, so they may begin to heal after so many years of extraordinary grief and uncertainty. The Iranian government previously offered assistance in locating Mr. Levinson, and we look forward to receiving this assistance, even as we disagree on other key issues." The Secretary of State, John Kerry, met with Christine to reiterate that the U.S. government remained committed to locating Bob and returning him safely with his family. On September 27, 2013, President Barack Obama and Iranian President Rouhani had a phone call, the first communication between the presidents of the two countries in 34 years. President Obama noted his concern about Bob's disappearance and expressed his interest in seeing him reunited with his family. On the 8th anniversary of Bob's disappearance, the FBI increased their reward to $5 million. On May 11, 2015, the United States Senate voted on Concurrent Resolution 16 for the release of Bob, which passed in a unanimous decision without amendment. This resolution states that it is a U.S. policy that the government of the Islamic Republic of Iran should immediately release Saeed Abedini, Amir Hekmati, and Jason Rezaian, and cooperate with the U.S. government to locate and return Bob, and the U.S. government should undertake every effort using every diplomatic tool at its disposal to secure their release. On February 11, 2016, the Senate passed a resolution recognizing that Bob is the longest-held U.S. civilian in U.S. history and urges Iran to act on its promises to assist in the case. In an interview, the Iranian president spoke of cooperation regarding Levinson's case, stating, quote, "We are willing to help, and all the intelligence services in the region can come together to gather information about him to find his whereabouts." On March 21, 2017, Bob's family filed a lawsuit against Iran with the U.S. District Court in Washington, D.C. They filed the suit under the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act for, quote, "injuries suffered by each of them as a result of Iran's unlawful acts of hostage-taking, torture, and other torts." On November 4, 2019, the Department of State Rewards for Justice program announced a reward of up to $20 million for information leading to the safe return of Bob, in addition to the FBI's previously announced $5 million reward. Despite the U.S. government's insistence that Bob was arrested by Iranian officials while in the country for personal reasons, several individuals continue to explore the idea that Bob was in Iran for official U.S. government reasons. This led to the discovery of evidence that contradicts the repeated U.S. government statements. In 2008, Bob's family received a $2.5 million annuity from the CIA in order to stop a public lawsuit from revealing details of his work in Iran. It was later revealed that in 2006, Bob was hired as a contractor by Tim Sampson, who was the head of the illicit finance group within the Office of Transportational Issues at the CIA. Documents surfaced that showed Bob was hired to write reports for an analysts group specializing in money laundering and foreign corruption. On December 9, 2011, Bob's family publicly released a hostage video they received in November 2010. In the video, Bob appears to have lost a considerable amount of weight and repeatedly pleads for help in returning home.
My beautiful, my loving, my loyal wife, Christine, and my children, and my grandson, and also for the United States government. I have been held here for 3.5 years. I am not in very good health. I am running very quickly out of diabetes medicine. I have been treated well, but I need the help of the United States government to answer the requests of the group that has held me for 3.5 years. And please help me get home. 33 years of service to the United States deserves something. Please help me.
Shortly after, on January 8, 2013, Bob's family released photos to the media showing Bob in an orange jumpsuit with overgrown and unkempt hair. Bob was seen holding signs in broken English, apparently written by his captors. The family received the photos in April 2011. They decided to release them years later after feeling anxious that not enough was being done, and that they felt frustration with the lack of progress on the case. According to a U.S. official, at least one email sent to Bob's family by his captors is believed to have originated from an internet cafe in Pakistan or Afghanistan. The Associated Press reported that, quote, "The consensus now among some U.S. officials involved in the case is that despite years of denials, Iran's intelligence service was almost certainly behind the 54-second video and 5 photographs of Bob that were emailed anonymously to his family." The U.S. officials said, quote, "The trade craft used to send those items was too good, indicating professional spies were behind them." AP continued, quote, "While everything dealing with Iran is murky, their conclusion is based on the U.S. government's best intelligence analysis." On December 12, 2013, the Associated Press and the Washington Post reported that their investigations revealed that Bob had been working for the CIA, contradicting the U.S. government's statements that he was not an employee of the government at the time of his capture. U.S. officials have continued to insist that Bob went to Iran as a private investigator working on a cigarette smuggling case. The Associated Press first confirmed Bob's CIA ties in 2010 and have found official documentation which proves he was on an unauthorized mission to gather intelligence about the Iranian government for the U.S. government. The following day, the New York Times reported it has also known about Bob's CIA work since 2007. A White House spokesperson, Jay Carney, responded to these claims saying Bob, quote, "was not a U.S. government employee when he went missing in Iran." Shortly after, Dawood told the Christian Science Monitor that both he and Bob were detained by Iranian police on March 9, 2007. On January 21, 2014, Bob's family disclosed that they have known for some time that he was working with the CIA and accused the U.S. government of failing to do enough to find him. His family was previously fearful to disclose this fact because the U.S. government told them it could put Bob in even more jeopardy, but at this point, they believed it could help bring him home. The family's attorney, David McGee, said the documents show without a shadow of doubt that Bob was a contract CIA operative who traveled extensively overseas recruiting and interviewing sources. The family has an email that was sent by Bob to CIA officials discussing an investigation of Iranian corruption and discussion over the cost of his work. The email read, quote, in connection with ongoing research I am conducting for an analytic report on the foreign investment of kickback and bribe monies of top Iranian government officials, an individual with detailed knowledge on this subject, with whom I have been in contact by phone and email over the past year, has agreed to meet with me. This meeting will take place either in Dubai or on an island nearby and should cost about $2,000 or $3,000. The family said at the first the CIA lied to them about the trip, but after the family's lawyer discovered the documents, the CIA admitted that Bob was working undercover in Iran. When Bob's case came to light inside the U.S. government, it produced a serious scandal. Following an internal investigation, the CIA disciplined 10 analysts after determining they were responsible for sending Bob on the mission to Iran. The CIA officials did not follow the proper vetting processes or seek the necessary approval from the mission from their supervisors. 3 CIA employees, including Tim Sampson, later lost their jobs for overstepping their authority as analysts and withholding information about Bob after he disappeared. At least 2 of the 3 people fired have been rehired by other government agencies. In 2010, an Iranian journalist provided the family with documents which provided convincing evidence that Bob was arrested and held by Iranian intelligence agents. The documents include an order for his arrest by the Ministry of Intelligence agents following a judicial order by a military prosecutor, which came in the day before Bob went missing. The second document shows a senior commander at Kish Air Base, an Iranian military facility, asking military prosecutors on May 2, 2007, what to do after Bob fell ill in detention and collapsed into a coma. The document reads, quote, "Greetings. I hereby inform Your Excellency that according to your judicial order, the accused subject is under the surveillance of this military unit at a detention center at this base. A doctor examined him and he was diagnosed to have diabetes and noted that he is not in good condition in order to transfer him to a hospital. In regard to the sensitivity and importance of this matter and the accused, please give us the necessary orders that should be taken in this regard." The documents were reviewed by an Iranian-born former top U.S. official, Ladin Arkin, who said the documents seemed legit based on their appearance and her deep familiarity with how the regime commanders speak with each other. Christine spoke out about this, saying, quote, "We have always believed that someone on Kish Island made a horrible mistake in arresting Bob, which is confirmed by these documents. Now is the time for Iranian authorities to do what they know is right and send this wonderful husband, father, and grandfather home to us." After years of denying that Bob was ever in their custody, in October of 2019, the Iranian government made a surprising statement to the United Nations that there is an ongoing judicial inquiry involving Bob. An Iranian counterintelligence official informed the military prosecutor Bahrami that, quote, "He is here using the cover of a tourist while conducting various meetings, taking pictures, and gathering information." Bahrami then ordered Bob's immediate arrest. On the 13th anniversary of Bob's disappearance, the FBI renewed its repeated calls to Iran to uphold its prior commitments to cooperate and to share information which could lead to Bob's return. A few weeks later, on March 25, 2020, Bob's family announced that they believe he is dead, stating, quote, "We recently received information from U.S. officials that had led both them and us to conclude that our wonderful husband and father died while in Iranian custody." The following day, the FBI Director, Christopher Wray, issued the following message. "Along with some of our interagency partners, I recently had the opportunity to meet again with Bob's family. I listened to the family talk about Bob, and most importantly, how they've always held out hope that Bob would one day come home. So has the FBI. Ever since Bob's disappearance from Kish Island in Iran in 2007, countless personnel, from agents to analysts to professional staff, all across the FBI, especially the Washington field office, have worked tirelessly to bring Bob home and provide answers to his family, and to get answers for ourselves. When I met with the Levinson family, we explained that the most credible evidence we have collected over the past 13 years points to the likelihood that Bob died in captivity. It pained me to deliver that news, but I believe that we owed Bob's family a thorough and candid presentation of the information that we've collected. This does not mean that the FBI has given up on finding out what happened to Bob. We're going to keep working to determine the circumstances surrounding Bob's abduction and his time in captivity, to find the answers we all want and that the Levinsons deserve. We won't give up because we don't give up on our family, and Bob, his wife Christine, and all of their children will always be a part of our FBI family. On October 1st, 2020, a U.S. court ordered the government of Iran to pay more than $1.4 billion to Bob's family for compensation and punitive damages. On December 14th, 2020, the U.S. Treasury Department sanctioned 2 employees of the Iranian Ministry of Intelligence in connection with Bob's kidnapping after obtaining new information about their involvement. The U.S. Treasury accused 2 individuals of the abduction, detention, and probable death of Bob. Mohammed Basseri, a high-ranking MOIS employee who is allegedly involved in sensitive Iranian national security investigations and is alleged to have worked with foreign intelligence services to harm U.S. interests, and Ahmad Kahazi, a senior officer of the MOIS who had previously led MOIS delegations to other countries in threat assessment missions. Since Bob's disappearance, his passport has never shown up in any other country. Aside from the video footage received in November 2010 and the photographs received in April 2011, there has been no contact from Bob. The most likely explanation is that Bob went to Iran as a contract CIA operative and was arrested and detained by Iranian officials. He remained in their custody until he passed away on an unknown date. The mystery that remains in this case is why the U.S. government was so insistent on lying about Bob's involvement in the CIA. Thank you for listening to Without a Trace with your host, Jolene. I hope you enjoyed our deep dive into Bob's disappearance. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please subscribe and follow Without a Trace on social media, and join me next week as I dive into another case.